Well, our next guest on the latest episode of Dashing Gowns Olympic Adventures for Aussie Home Loans, who deal with anyone in Australia, they've got clients in every state and capital city, is part of the current Australian team in Paris as we speak. We're in the closing stages of the games of the 33rd Olympiad. She has competed in her fourth Olympic Games in diving, in the 3-metre springboard event, in the synchronised event with Maddison Keeney. And as we speak, Maddison is still competing in the individual event. She's a 4-time Olympian, and she's had an outstanding career for Australia, including a bronze medal. And we thank her for being here for Aussie Home Loans in Annabelle Smith. Annabelle, thanks for your time. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Can I go back and I mention the war, that last dive? Obviously, if you could have it again, what would have you done differently?
Oh, starting off with a bang. Well, I can't really change it much now, but
No.
I don't know, in the moment, that sort of stuff can happen in Olympic Games, and unfortunately it was my turn to have a bit of bad luck. So if I went back, I'd probably take another deep breath and try again, but that's all right. It happens, and that definitely doesn't define everything else that I've done.
You've got a great record, a couple of top 5 finishes, plus a bronze medal as well. You must be proud of what you've achieved in 4 Olympics so far, and I'll say so far because you never know what might happen in 4 years' time.
Yeah, no, I have had a great run. It's been incredible. It's kind of, I feel like I've lived 4 different lives across my career. So I definitely have so many fond memories, but I think the best part about Paris has been that it feels like it's back to the original Olympic Games as we know it, or the energy, or the crowds, being able to have freedom to leave the village and see your family and enjoy that whole Olympic experience. It's been magical. But yeah, starting off as a bright and bubbly, sport-obsessed kid in 2012 at my first Olympics, all the way through to having lots of experience and feeling like I'm a veteran on the team. It's pretty special.
Well, your first one was London, and I was actually there broadcasting for the ABC, and I've done a lot of great things in my career, lots of AFL footy, etc., tennis, cricket, but I describe that as the greatest experience in the highlight of my career, going to the London Olympic Games. Pretty good start for a 19-year-old from Queensland.
Yeah, it was incredible. I just couldn't believe all the sporting superstars that I was surrounded by in the Olympic Village. I think I spent more time on my camera trying to take pictures of people than focusing on my diving event, but that's what it's all about when you love sport and you grow up with that dream. So yeah, that was definitely my favorite games. I think they just did an incredible job hosting the event in London.
Did you feel once you'd been to one that you had the taste, you had to go to more?
Yeah, I always wondered as a kid why so many people came out of retirement just to go to the Olympics. But once you've been to one, you definitely know what the hype's about, and no other competition even closely compares to it. So it's pretty special, and you definitely do get that urge and that taste and want to come back for more.
4-time Olympian in diving, Annabelle Smith has joined me in the second week of the Olympic Games as we speak for Dashing Gowns Olympic Adventures, live from Paris for Aussie Home Loans. And they deal with anyone in Australia. Got clients in every state and capital city, and 25 lenders on their panel. And among their areas of expertise include first home buyers, equipment loans, car loans, and personal loans. So why diving, Annabelle?
Well, I was a super sporty kid and pretty natural at lots of different things, but I spent hours bouncing on my trampoline in my backyard and had this natural acrobatic and aerial awareness, and I had no fear. So it was sort of the perfect recipe for someone to try diving. And I used to run amok at the swimming pool, my local pool, in the school holidays, and jumped off a diving board and got scouted by one of the coaches and never sort of turned back after that. So yeah, it's a challenging sport, but it's a unique sport. And I love just trying to get that 1% improvement and try and get the best out of myself in the pool.
When did you think, obviously when you start training at a high level, the aim is to represent Australia, but when did you think that dream or aspiration could become a reality?
Ooh, I reckon when I was about 14 or 15, I was in a junior high performance program and started progressing really quickly in my sport, and had a lot of people, coaches and high performance directors in our sport saying, keep working hard, you've got what it takes to make the Olympics. So yeah, it sort of probably became more of a reality, a potential reality, when I was about 15. And then obviously made my first games 4 years later. So it's been a pretty crazy journey since then. But I always had that spark and always had that desire to go to the Olympics. So I wasn't going to stop until I made it.
It seems to be a sport where a lot of athletes, especially girls, start very young and make it to the elite level at a young age. I interviewed Melissa Wu for Aussie Home Loans before the Games. We know her story, 13 at a Commonwealth Games, 15 at an Olympic Games. Why do you think that's the case?
Oh, a lot of kids start young these days because they have identified diving's a skill-based sport that takes a lot of repetition, and the earlier you can start, maybe the faster you can progress. But I think it's more you're going to get one superstar every now and again who comes out at 13, 14. You can see this year at the Olympics, we've had Ali Cole, this is their first big senior international event. She's 17 and it's at the Olympic Games, and she came top 8 in the world. So there's always people who stand out, and not every 13-year-old is going to make it, but not every 18-year-old is going to make it. But to see a few come out and pop up and have these really great stories in our sport, I think that obviously inspires the next generation to try out diving as well.
So after your first Games in 2012, you got an opportunity in 2016, but you performed well in the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in 2014, winning a gold. Did you feel then you really belonged, and that by 2016 there was the aim of winning a medal, which you were able to achieve?
Yeah, 2014 was probably like a difficult time in my career because I was going through a lot of transition with moving around different programs, different states, in and out of home. But Maddie and I sort of, yeah, first outing on the world stage at Commonwealth Games, and had a good crack. We won a bronze medal in 2014, but we knew going into Rio a couple of years later that we were in the mix, and we'd had good results that year on the international circuit, and yeah, sort of went in there with high hopes. But also at the Olympics, anything can happen, and it's pretty high pressure in those synchro events because there is medals, 8 teams going for 3 medals. So yeah, it was pretty phenomenal to be standing on the podium and to realize that this is where we belong.
Did you prefer, or have you preferred over the years, synchro to individual, and if so, why, Annabelle?
Yeah, I think synchro is a great opportunity for me because I'm a super strong diver individually, but we obviously have Maddie, who's one of, if not the best female diver, springboard diver in the world. And it's really hard in a synchro team to find 2 people who closely match each other. And a lot of teams might have one really standout diver and then another diver who's great and can match them, but is a little bit below them in sort of skill level or whatever. So for Australia to have had 2 really great individual divers and to be able to put us together with similar strength and power, and for it to work for so long, I think it's afforded us lots of opportunities and lots of success. So for me, I've had a very long career, and this sort of second half of my career, I've just wanted to chase high performance and chase those medals. So for me, the best way to do that was to really put all my focus into synchro.
You've been a team for a long time. What makes a good team in the sport of synchro diving?
Oh, you've got to be connected. Maddie and I are very different people, but we are connected on so many levels and have a very high mutual respect for each other. We get along great. We make each other laugh. We keep it relaxed. Nothing's too serious. And at the end of the day, we know that we're both trying our best and putting in as much work as we can to have a good result. And that's enough for us, no matter win, lose, or draw. Yeah, we've got each other's back and we really care about each other, which I think is important.
You spend a lot of time away from the sport together, or do you think that's where it works, that you don't spend a lot of time, as you say, you're 2 totally different people?
Yeah, well, when we're traveling internationally, we definitely spend a lot of time together, but we actually train in different states, so we don't spend that much time when we're not away for competitions.
So how does that work? I mean, I was speaking to Steve Foley, a high performance manager and 3-time Olympian, and Steve likes to chat. We chat about a lot of different things for Aussie Home Loans, for Dashing Down to Olympic Adventures, of which 4-time Olympian Annabelle Smith is my guest today, and part of the Australian team in Paris as the Olympic Games continues. And Australia won their record number of gold medals, 18, and we hope there's a few more as we speak, the longer the Games go on over the next few days. But just on that, I mean, in regard to obviously the amount of time that you spend together and the amount of time that you're training, I mean, it's pretty tough, isn't it? That you've got to spend a lot of time together. You don't get much time for downtime, do you?
Yeah, well, Maddie is based in Brisbane and I'm based in Melbourne, so we do a lot of different training camps. But when we're together, we make the most of it, and we do pretty intense training camps. So yeah, when we're traveling for diving, there's not a lot of time to do anything other than train and compete. And obviously now we are finishing the diving schedule all the way till the end of the game. So we're at the pool for about 5 hours a day, supporting the girls and the boys in different events. Yeah, it doesn't leave a lot of time for getting out and about in Paris or any other city that we might be in.
Do you think that also works too, Annabelle, that you can be a good synchro team if you are based in different states?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we're both pretty old, like pretty experienced old athletes, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we know what works best for us. And for me, that was being home in Melbourne. For Maddie, that's being home in Brisbane. So when we come together, we're happy and we're trained hard and we've got our dives going. So when we come together, it doesn't take too long to get back in sync, and that works best for us.
Now, Melissa Wu, you've been a long time teammate of hers. She's at her 5th Olympic Games. What makes her tick and what makes her keep going?
Yeah, she's incredible. Mel's had a phenomenal career and has been a real standout inspiration for our sport and an icon, really. And she's just always had this determination and this grit to keep pushing, keep pushing. She set the bar very high for platform diving in Australia and has always been our solid rock in that event. So yeah, it's been incredible to see her at her 5th Olympics and still with the biggest smile on her face and really setting that example for the team. So yeah, she's a legend.
Now, this whole team, you seem to have gone on pretty well. You've all performed really well. There's been a lot of finals that have been made, and the reputation of the Australian diving team, as Steve Foley told me over recent Olympic Games, is that you've been good enough to make finals and win at least one medal at the last 5 or so Olympic Games. Why do you think we've got such a good recent record?
Yeah, we've got really strong programs in Australia. So I think, the top end is really strong and it has been for a long time. We've got obviously a mixture of experience and newbies on this team, but for the newbies to have all this fresh energy and kind of not get phased by the whole Olympic experience compared to the other side where us experienced ones obviously feel the pressure and we know what to expect, but we also have those really high goals. So I don't know. I think it's a great team to be a part of, and really exciting for the last few events to kick off. And I reckon we're going to come home with that at least one medal.
Well, let's hope so. And who do you think will win it if we're lucky enough to jag at least one medal?
My bets are on my incredible synchro partner. So let's wait and see in women's 3 meter.
Now, just on that, when you are finished, have you had a chance to go to other events? Because the diving, this sort of takes me to my next question in my usual long-winded way, because the diving, if my memory serves me right, has generally been at the back end of the Olympics after swimming. But at these Olympic Games, you had your event early while the swimming was on. And then the second half of the diving has been after the swimming. It's been a different sort of program. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm not really sure I can answer them. I think it's just we've been sharing the pool this time with water polo and artistic swimming. So I think it's all just scheduling issues, but it definitely is pretty drawn out compared to what we're used to at different major events. But the diving for as many Olympics as I can remember does go over the whole 2 weeks. But yeah, the first week we had 4 synchro events kind of over 8 days. So it felt pretty slow at the start, but now this week's moving pretty quickly with an event on at 10 a.m. every morning and an event on at 3 p.m. every day. So yeah, it feels pretty busy now.
Did that change the way you prepared or trained at all, Annabelle? I mean, did you have to taper a few days earlier regarding your training because you knew that you were going to be competing very early in the Olympics instead of maybe the second half of the Olympics, as is usually the case, as you mentioned?
Yeah, and our preparation was all based upon us competing on that date. So we don't really necessarily taper in diving, but yeah, our training camp beforehand was all set up so that we were ready to come into the village with 5 days to go and feel prepared enough for our first event. So yeah, it's definitely targeted at that, and we feel like we had the right preparation, which is good.
Now, Matt Mitchell, I believe, talked to you when you were at your training camp in London. What did that mean to you? Of course, one of our great divers.
Yeah, Matt Mitchell, he's been another icon in our sport, and I grew up diving alongside him. So it was really cool to have him come back and give us a bit of inspiration and a bit of a pep talk before heading over into Paris. But yeah, he's obviously well respected within our diving community, and it's always great to hear from our alumni athletes as well, and someone who's walked the walk before.
Was there something that Matt Mitchum said that stood out compared to other things you've heard from other divers, Annabelle, considering his experience?
He really just told us to try your best. You can't expect or want to be your best, whatever happens on the day, just as long as you're trying your best. That's the most important thing. And you can see everyone on our team is really putting in all their effort and all their passion and all their heart into trying to get a good outcome. And yeah, just putting our best foot forward and going in with the fight, which I think is important.
Now, the Chinese dominate. Why do they dominate? I suppose that's the million-dollar question. If you knew the answer to that, they wouldn't be dominating, would
Yeah. Yeah. No, they've obviously got a pretty large population and a lot of programs in diving in China. A lot of kids do diving. So yeah, I feel like if they've got someone who's not quite up to standard, they've got 10 more just as good to fill in the spot. So we obviously don't have that amount of selection in Australia. And they've always sort of set the bar high in terms of coaching and technique and how to be an incredible diver. So they've been dominant for a very long time, and I can't see that really changing anytime soon. But we definitely have athletes that are pushing the boundaries and putting a lot of pressure on the Chinese.
Do you think there are more countries now becoming stronger at the sport than when you first started?
Yeah, you do definitely see some change and some new athletes popping up in different countries, but I still think it's China, it's Australia, it's Great Britain, it's Mexico. Some of those big countries are still dominating our sport and have had a long history in diving, which then often breeds more success.
Four-time Olympian Annabelle Smith has joined me. She won a bronze medal in her second Olympic Games in diving. She's just finished fifth in the 3-metre synchro swimming, an outstanding performance in the springboard event. And we're here for Aussie Home Loans for Dashing Down's Olympic Adventures. They've got over 25 lenders on their panel. As you said, you've been getting behind the team and the back end of the diving program in Paris. Have you had a chance to go and cheer on other teammates in other events?
There hasn't been that much time to get out to other events just yet, but I have been to the track and field because it's close to the diving pool. So that was really fun. I saw the men's 100-meter final and our two Aussie girls win silver and bronze in the high jump. So that was really special. And hopefully going to try and get out to the beach volleyball tonight. So yeah, if we're not out at venues, so there's TVs downstairs in our headquarters and everyone's cheering around the TV. So yeah, we still have that option, which is great.
Well, there hasn't been a ticket available, as you would be aware, unless, of course, you're an athlete and you've got obviously some opportunities to get some tickets, which is fantastic. But outside the athletes, if you're just a normal person wanting a ticket, you haven't been able to get one at the beach volleyball because it's held, of course, underneath the Eiffel Tower. What a venue, Annabelle.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. And yeah, the word on the street is that it is impossible to get a ticket to that. So we'll try our luck at walking in on the athlete buses and see how we go.
How inspired are you by the success of all the females, including yourself? It's been an outstanding Olympic Games for Australia, but particularly for our female athletes when it comes to gold in the pool. The Fox sisters have dominated. The slalom canoeing, we saw, of course, young Arissa True winning a gold medal in the skateboarding at the age of 14, and she's in year 9 at school. It's been an outstanding performance, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been incredible. I was never in doubt that the female athletes were going to have success this year. We have so many incredible female athletes in Australia. So it's really special to be able to celebrate that and to make sure that the public back home knows how good we are, and obviously inspiring the next generation of young girls as well, which is, very important to athletes.
Have you got to know many of the athletes from other sports over the 4 Olympic Games you've been at, Annabelle, or as you say, there's not enough time?
No, I've had a great opportunity to make friends with a lot of different Olympians from different sports, and even this year I actually had also gone out to the skateboarding, and I learned how to ride the skateboard on Arissa True's board 2 days before she won a gold. So maybe I gave her some good luck. But no, definitely meet lifelong friends, and it's so good to see familiar faces around every 4 years. I don't often get to mingle between sports. So yeah, it's really great to share this experience with athletes who've met along the journey.
I mean, when you look at the skateboarding compared to diving, even of course diving's in the pool and skateboarding's out in the track, there are some similarities there because it's all about tricks. It's all about difficulty of the tricks, difficulty of the dives. There's a correlation. There's sort of a similarity between the two sports in some ways, isn't there?
Yeah, it is very skill-based sport as well. However, the skateboarders get a few chances to get their best run on the board, and
Yeah.
diving, you don't really get that. You've got one chance. So, yeah, it's impressive to watch, and especially the girls are also young. So to see the talent is incredible. But yeah, good similarities in terms of skill and having to do different tricks, and that takes a lot of work and to nail those different tricks or routines. But yeah, slightly different in the way that the competition is run.
Yeah, you've got Steve Foley as your high performance manager. What does he bring to the table? Very experienced man in the sport of diving, isn't he?
Yeah, he obviously has a lot of experience in diving and is a leader of our sport in Australia now, but has had that experience in several other countries. So yeah, it brings a world of knowledge, and he also just brings a really great energy, positivity. He always just wants the best for the athletes, and also trusts that the athletes are, have great communication with their coaches, and we all have a plan and we know what we're doing. So he also gives us that freedom and space to just do our job, but knowing he's always there to support if we need.
Now, back home in Australia, Annabelle Smith is my guest, and she's a four-time Olympian in diving and also won a bronze medal and finished fifth at these Olympic Games in the 3-metre synchro in the springboard event early in the Olympic Games of 2024 in Paris for Dashing Downs Olympic Adventures and Aussie Home Loans. There was some criticism back here in Australia from the media, those that were in Paris, about the accommodation. How has the accommodation been? Has that been a bit overblown?
Oh, our accommodation's been great. We're obviously sleeping on cardboard beds, but we did the same in Tokyo, and that's for sustainability. And I'm used to a hard bed anyway, so it hasn't bothered me. But now this village has actually been incredible, and our Australian building especially has been decked out really well. We've had food available for us with the nutritionist downstairs. We've got recovery areas set up. We've got hangout areas, quiet zones. It's been incredible. So definitely no issues from my end.
So there hasn't been a limitation on how much you can eat. 2 lamb chops or 2 pork chops. That's been overblown as well.
Not really sure. I haven't spent all that much time in the main food hall because we
Right.
have such a good selection of stuff downstairs in our building. So I
Right.
also have some food intolerances. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask
Okay.
about that. But maybe the heavy duty weightlifters might have something else to say.
Now, as we said, 4 Olympic Games. It's 4 years to LA. Would you love to go again?
Oh, we'll see. I always take it one step at a time. So I think the first thing on my mind is having a break and having a holiday and letting my mind and my body have a rest. So you'll have to wait and see, mate.
How long do you have a break for? I mean, before you decide, yeah, I'm ready to go again. Obviously, the other Olympic Games, it's been a no-brainer. You've come back and you performed. But now, as you get into the twilight of your career, how long do you think you'll need to have a break for? And what would you like to do other than have a break and have a holiday? Obviously, you've got a career to consider as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we usually have about 6 weeks off. So earlier in my career, it was about 2 weeks, but now that kind of gets extended out. But I've got a really good team around me, and that's a very individual thing. A lot of people want to take a long time off. Some people want to take not too much time off. So it's very up to the individual. But yeah, for me, I'll take a good holiday, get back home, hang out with my family, see my friends, do things that you can't do when you're training for the Olympic Games. And then it all becomes a bit clearer after that. So um, yeah, I also have a lot of different things going for me outside the pool, which I'm excited to engage in and do a lot of public speaking and have some work with one of my sponsors as well. So there's lots on my plate, and I'm excited to explore all that when I get home.
So when you do public speaking, Annabelle, is there something or is there a theme that you like to sort of talk about, or do you have a number of different themes that you like to talk about?
Oh, it's a bit dependent on who I'm speaking to, and sometimes we get a brief from a corporate client or something they want to focus on, whether that's leadership or resilience or adversity or how to be a high performer, whatever it might be. So yeah, there's a range of things, but it always just draws back to my journey through sport and how I've overcome challenges and the things that have worked for me to enable me to have success. So yeah, it's a bit dependent on the client.
What does it mean to you to be an Olympian as part of one of the biggest? I still think it's the biggest sporting event. Those that follow soccer think the World Cup's bigger than the Olympics, but I still think the Olympics is the biggest sporting event. What's it mean to you to have represented your country on multiple occasions at the Olympic Games?
Yeah, it's very special. Something I don't take for granted at all. I've always been a sport lover. I always dreamt as a kid to be an Olympian. So for that to be real now and that be my reality, and as we say, once an Olympian, always an Olympian. So pretty special crop of people in Australia, in the world. And yeah, wearing the green and gold and representing Australia is something that I'm very proud of, and definitely don't take for granted.
And what would you say to a young girl out there that's considering diving as a career? Have you got a piece of advice for them? One very important piece of advice if they were to pursue a career in diving and like to take it to the highest level like you have?
I would probably just say to try and stay authentic to yourself. Not everybody's path and journey to success is the same, and to not sort of judge your path based on other people around you. Trust your intuition and have a good group of people around you. And if you want to chase after the Olympics, then it takes hard work and belief, but it's definitely possible. So yeah, be authentic to yourself and just work hard.
Well, Annabelle, it's been a great pleasure chatting to you. I know that you'll be very busy watching your teammate, Maddison Keeney, get involved, of course, in her event, the individual event in the springboard in the 3 metres, and we hope she goes really well. And I wish you all the best going forward. And we hope that in 4 years' time, if Dashing Downs Olympic Adventures for Aussie Home Loans is still continuing, that we can have another chat to you and you're on the podium again. If that is your wish and your decision to be part of the Olympic Games in 2028. We thank you for joining us for Dashing Downs Olympic Adventures for Aussie Home Loans to deal with anyone in Australia. Their areas of expertise include refinancing, debt consolidation, construction, pre-approvals, first home buyers, equipment loans, car loans, personal loans, and they've got over 25 lenders on their panel. Thanks so much for finding some time, and enjoy the rest of the games and safe travels.
Thanks, Dan. Bye.